Let's talk about complex sentences. To do that, we need to first review simple sentences. Remember our format: subject plus verb plus complete meaning. For example, Anna drinks coffee. Anna is the subject and it's a noun. Drinks is an action verb. Coffee is the direct object, and a direct object is always a noun or a pronoun. Anna is a student. Now notice the verb is a linking verb. Linking verbs do not take direct objects, they take complements. In this sentence, Anna is a student. Student is the complement and it's a noun. Tom is tired. Here we have another linking verb and a complement, but notice this time the complement is an adjective. Tired is an adjective. Tom swims after class. Swims is an action verb, but this time we don't have a direct object. We get our complete meaning with a prepositional phrase. After is a preposition, and the word class is a noun, and it is the object of the preposition. Anna drinks coffee after class. I could also change it to she, which is a pronoun. Drinks is an action verb, but notice coffee is a direct object, and we also have after class, which is a prepositional phrase. So even simple sentences can have a lot going on. Here's another example. This sentence has two subjects, but it is still a simple sentence. Tom and I swim after class. Tom is a noun, I is a pronoun, swim is an action verb, after class is a prepositional phrase. Now look at this sentence. It has one subject and two verbs. The tea smells and tastes sweet. Tea is a noun. Smells and tastes are both linking verbs. Sweet is the complement and it is an adjective. Now here I have a simple sentence that has two subjects and two verbs. Tom and I drink and eat after work. Tom is a noun. The word I is a pronoun. Drink and eat are both action verbs, and after work is a prepositional phrase. Even though we have two subjects and two verbs, this is still a simple sentence. Here's another simple sentence. Anna and Tom drink coffee and eat cake after work. Now here a lot is going on. We have two subjects, Anna and Tom. We have an action verb, drink, which has its own direct object, coffee. We have another action verb, eat, which has its own direct object, cake. And finally, we have a prepositional phrase, after work. This is still a simple sentence. Now let's look at compound sentences. We've already gone over them. This is just going to be a quick review. Our format for a compound sentence is we have one simple sentence joined by a comma and one of the fanboys, and then another simple sentence. And the fanboys is the acronym for the coordinating conjunctions for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Here's an example sentence. I am hungry, comma, but I don't have cash. Notice in a compound sentence, Each of the simple sentences could end with a period and stand on their own. I am hungry, period. Perfectly good sentence. I don't have cash, period. Another good sentence. But I want to show a relationship between the two sentences, so I join them with the word but. Here's another example. Carl eats pizza, comma, and he really likes it. Again, each of the simple sentences could stand on their own, but I, the writer, want to join them, want to show a relationship between the two, so I use the word and to show that the two sides of the sentence are going in the same direction. Now we're going to look at complex sentences, and these are very different from what we were doing before. A complex sentence contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. Now, a clause is a fancy word for saying a part of a sentence that has a subject and a verb. If that clause expresses a complete meaning all by itself, we call it an independent clause. If the clause does not express a complete meaning all by itself, it may be a dependent clause. Here is a sample sentence. I am a student because I want to learn French. Now let me explain why this is a complex sentence. An independent clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. What that means is if it were not connected to a dependent clause, it would still be a complete sentence. In this sense, an independent clause is like an adult. Adults can live alone, they can stand on their own 2 feet, or adults can be parents. I am a student because I want to learn French. I am a student is the independent clause. I could put a period after student and I would have a perfectly fine sentence. Because this sentence makes sense all by itself. Now let's look at dependent clauses. A dependent clause cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. A dependent clause is like a baby. It is incorrect to write a dependent clause all by itself. It is not a complete sentence. Now back to our sample sentence. I am a student because I want to learn French. The dependent clause is because I want to learn French. Now notice if I capitalize the word because I want to learn French, period, that would not be a complete sentence, because if I told somebody, because I want to learn French, they would look at me and say, okay, what else? This is a dependent clause. It does not make sense all by itself. A complex sentence has at least one independent clause, the adult or parent, and one dependent clause, the baby. So here are some examples. Here's my sentence, unless I have extra money, comma, I don't buy Starbucks. Here the dependent clause comes first. And notice, unless I have extra money is not a complete sentence. It has a subject and a verb, but it does not make sense by itself. If I told somebody, unless I have extra money, they would ask me, what? What happens unless you have extra money? So the dependent clause must always be connected to an independent clause. Now, I don't buy Starbucks is an independent clause because it is a complete sentence all by itself. It has a subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. And here are the two side by side so you could compare them. This rule is very important. If the dependent clause comes first, we must use a comma between the clauses. For example, when I have a test, comma, I review all my notes. Now let's look at an example where the independent clause begins the sentence. We study before a test because we want a good grade. Again, we study before a test is a complete sentence. It has a subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete meaning. On the other hand, because we want a good grade is not a complete sentence. It has a subject and a verb, but it does not make sense by itself. And here are the two examples side by side so you may compare them. And notice, if the independent clause comes first, we do not use a comma between the clauses. For example, Anna drives carefully when her baby is in the car. So independent clause first, no comma. Notice the dependent word. That is crucial to understanding complex sentences. The dependent word can start the sentence or be in the middle. If it starts the sentence, then we need a comma. If it is in the middle, we don't use a comma. And here are some dependent words: if, because, unless, when, after, before, until, since, in case, whenever, even though, although, as long as, while, even if. Now let's do a little bit of practice. We will underline the dependent clause, and I will put the dependent word in red. As you're looking at the sentences, focus on the dependent words and on the punctuation. Is there a comma near the middle of the sentence? Do we need a comma? Because I was afraid, I did not go into the room. Because I was afraid is the dependent clause. The word because is our dependent word. Since it begins the sentence, we do need a comma. Let's look at this one. She was tired because she didn't sleep well. Because she didn't sleep well is the dependent clause. And notice it is in the middle of the sentence, so we do not need a comma. Let's do one more quickly. Max is going to college after he finishes high school. After he finishes high school is the dependent clause, and because the dependent word after is in the middle of the sentence, we do not need a comma. Thank you for watching.